First of all, it was a great fight.
I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Did you even watch it? Dave, did you watch it? Dave, did you watch the main event?
For the sake...
We agreed to main event and co-main event, even we're not interested in the cards.
Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't watch it. Obviously, I watched the fight. But like, if you were explaining it to someone who hadn't seen any of it, what did you think about the fight?
You did not watch it.
I just want to know your thoughts.
You didn't even watch the Weasel breakdown?
Listen...
You watched the Weasel breakdown.
I watched everything. I watched the full fight. I'm just saying that some people listening to the show probably haven't seen it. So why don't you give them your thoughts and really paint a picture for those people who didn't watch it at all?
Shout out to the Weasel.
Shout out to the Weasel. He's great.
Shout out to the Weasel, who is great, who really does make it so we don't have to watch fights.
Yeah, I probably should have watched the breakdown. Anyway.
You really didn't watch the breakdown?
Lewis, what are your thoughts on the fight? Who do you think won? Holly Holm seems to be upset. She felt like she won the contest. But then on the other hand... Ketlen Vieira, she's obviously feeling like she did enough to win.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I want to hear.
These judges, you know?
I want to hear a breakdown of somebody who didn't watch the fight. Can you give me a full breakdown of this fight?
Well, look, as we all know, in MMA, you try not to leave it in the hands of the judges.
This is why I'm sidestepping, because I also did not watch the fight. No, I watched it.
Like, you can't leave it in the hands of the judges in this game. Yeah. And when you do that, and if it's a close fight, and you're looking at a split decision, you got to say it could go any way. Now, one of these fights where it's like, what do you score more? Who's moving forward? Who's dominating in the clinch position more? Who's landing more effective strikes? It's very hard to say.
It's actually legitimately, by the way, legitimately a good breakdown of what happened.
I completely understand.
That was the crux of the split decision.
Look, if you're in Holly Holm's camp, I understand. You're feeling like you got robbed. But at the same time, you know, if you're over in Keitlan's camp, you're like, you know, I think we did enough.
You already said that.
I think we did enough.
You already said that.
Did I mention that already?
Yeah, you did. That was actually the crux of it, right? Was
exactly.
And
excellent breakdown.
Here's what you can take from this, okay? So it really came down to the third round, which was...
It all came down to the third.
The split decision, right? Mm-hmm. And in that round, Holly was dominating the clinch. Holly landed more shots. Ketlen Veira landed harder shots and did more damage in that round. But it's like, you know, with the old school way of thinking, the way that I've sort of always judged MMA has been like effective striking, grappling, octagon control. That was sort of the criteria, right? What effective striking, to me, it was really up for interpretation what effective striking was, right? Effective striking could mean you're actually landing more. Volume striker, right, is landing more. The guy who lands 15, you know, shots and is kind of lighting them up a little bit versus the guy who lands one big bomb that cuts somebody open. How do you... I felt like that was sort of what was up for interpretation, right? And very often you have a lot of judges who see it very, very differently. What it seems to be, they are really sort of digging their heels in on effective striking, meaning damage, right? We've seen these decisions in recent history, and I like that. I like that it seems to be more clear criteria. And look, Holly landed more. She was clinching the fuck out of her, you know, throughout the whole fight. That was the big thing. But Ketlen Veira was landing those big, nasty fucking shots, dude. And when you're landing really effective shots that you're hurting your opponent and your opponent's really not hurting you at all, I just look at, like, let's go back to the fucking middle school rules. Like, that her face looks more fucked up than her face and it's a really close fight. Well, then she won. Her face is more fucked up. She damaged her more. And I feel like it's only been in recent history, in the past few years, that has, because I remember back in the day, so many fights where the person who wore more damage still ends up winning the fight in close fights. And I feel like we're sort of moving away from that, and I feel like judging is getting a little bit better right now. Yeah, I also, to me personally, I also feel like the damage criteria is like, I kind of look at like whether the person's getting hurt or not. Like whether it seems like they're hurt. Like not just how they look or whatever, but like if someone's like well, yeah, you're right. More some strikes, people do wear damage. Yeah, more. Like if someone's landing a lot of strikes, but it has no effect on the guy and he's still moving forward. You know what I mean? Like it was like, it reminds me of like I don't even know exactly what the numbers would be, but if you remember when Dustin Poirier fought Max Holloway, the most recent time, up at 155 pounds. Mm-hmm. I mean, Max Holloway landed a lot of shots in that fight. I mean, Max Holloway is like an unbelievably good technical boxer, volume striker. He was landing a lot on Dustin Poirier. But when, like, I'm not even sure the numbers of that fight. He might have beat him on the numbers. But when Dustin Poirier hit Max Holloway, it was like, just like visibly hurting him. Like Max Holloway was pressuring him, and then he'd
eat like a big right hand, and he'd be like fucking like a right hooker. Dustin Poirier's a lefty, I think, right? And he'd eat a big shot and like retreat all the way back to like he didn't want to take more of those. And to me, that just goes, if both guys are landing a lot of volume, but one of them is like affected by one of the shots, you're like, okay, I got to give him a lot more credit for that. Again, though, a lot of these things are like very kind of debatable about how exactly you think who wins a fight.
This is Max Holloway. I don't know how to read.
So, okay, so of total strikes, Max Holloway, Holloway outlanded him, right?
Is that Q-Pulp? I actually would be more interested in seeing the Holm and Ketlen Vieira breakdown of who outlanded more. I believe Holly landed more, just more light shots throughout the fight. And you sort of like consider... This is actually what Weasel broke down in a really great way. He's like, octagon control isn't even considered unless it's like unless it's equal striking. Unless like equal strike, like they're looking at octagon control as like the last criteria. It's not like octagon control, her walking her down or her taking the clinch is they don't that's not considered as like,
but that's different than takedowns and stuff, which would be considered effective grappling.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So like but if you're talking about just walking someone down, I mean, I guess clinching is debatable which one of those two it would fall into.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Holm connected 183 out of 295 strikes. And Vieira 104 out of 178. Yeah,
that's so substantially more strikes.
Substantially more strikes. And you look at that, and it's very easy to see it. But here's the thing: it's not like Vieira was playing the MMA game, which I think this is why judging has also gotten better. I feel like people have been able to play the MMA game a little bit.
Has judging really gotten better?
I feel like it's gotten a little bit better. I feel like just in the past couple years, I feel like there's been a couple robberies. It's happened. But I feel like the criteria has become a little bit more clear, and I think we're just getting better judging overall. But
I don't know. I think it used to be for me. I think MMA used to be easier to judge. Like I think in the Matt Hughes, Chuck Liddell kind of like era of MMA, it was just easier to say who won. Like it was never hard to judge a Matt Hughes fight.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Matt Serra as a good example of where he won, which I thought he lost, but there are a couple. But in general, back in his day, if he took the guy down and controlled him the whole time, like Matt Hughes won the fight, and if he couldn't take the guy down, he lost the fight. And it was just like kind of easy to, whereas now people have gotten so much better that it used to be like very common. Like when you'd watch MMA, it'd be like if a guy landed a takedown, you were like, oh, he just won the round. Like he got that guy down.
Right. Oh yeah.
That guy's not getting back up. It was until Chuck Liddell and like later on that guys really started getting back up to their feet. And then all of a sudden you land a takedown, they're back on their feet.
Well, then it was also for a while, for a few years there, up until very recently. This is why I think judging's gotten a little bit better, is that takedown would very often steal around from a guy who was being lit up on the feet. Let's say a guy got really lit up, got hurt on his feet, but in the first minute. Then minute 2, he gets taken down, and then the guy on top lays and prays. Very often, that guy on top would get the round.
Oh, back
and
in
I
the
feel
day,
like not now. I feel like now if he didn't do anything, either he would be stood up, or they wouldn't give that guy the round. They would give the guy the round who landed more damage. And I just feel like that little criteria being a little bit more clear has made judging better.
I think what's made the sport harder to judge is that now you just have a lot more fights where there were like. It's not like, oh, this guy, it used to be like you'd see a lot like, okay, the striker was winning the first minute, then the wrestler got him down, and he was on top for 4 minutes. So they give it to the wrestler, you know? Whereas now, the striker's winning the fight for the first minute, then the wrestler gets him down, has him down for 30 seconds, he gets back up, he lands one more takedown, holds him down for a minute, he gets back up, there's a few exchanges, there's this and that. It's just like a tougher thing.
It's very rare that somebody is even being taken down and laid and prayed anymore. And it's not even because the guy on the offensive position has gotten better or whatever. It's the guys on bottom understand how to get up now.
It's been made into a science.
Yeah, exactly. Get your back to the fence, walk up the fence, get back to your feet. This is just it's a part of MMA drilling. Like you don't even do MMA if you're not working on getting back to your feet from your back.
It's crazy because it's like Chuck Liddell was like the first guy to really do this, and everyone used to be blown away by it.
Yeah.
It was like he just gets back up.
He uses wrestling to strike.
Yeah, like it was like people were like, but specifically not the stuffing takedowns that had been done for a while, but the like getting taken down and then just getting back up. Everyone was like, he just stands up. This is insane. And then for a while, he was like the only guy who really did that. And then everyone started studying, and then people like Bisping was a good example.
Bisping's
became like an expert.
The best.
He became an expert at it.
Like getting back to his feet.
Hey, this guy has 50 different ways to get back up if you're on top of him. Yeah. And then everyone started getting.
A lot of people say he got back to his feet after I left the podcast.
He got right back to his feet.
On back up, right
a lot of people say he was never even down.
Against the cage. High five Anthony Smith. He got his own Smith. We're all good. We both got Smiths. I got the better Smith, doggy.
Hell yeah, you got the better Smith. I mean, not better at standing up once you're getting taken down.
Not better at anything technically in life.
Technically, probably not.
Is there anything you could do better than Anthony Smith?
Stand up, talk about comedy, libertarianism.
Definitely talk about freedom. That's it.
I don't know. Is he a good dad? I'm a pretty good dad.
I think he's probably a pretty good dad.
He seems like a good dad. He's
a good dude.
Like a good
he's
dad.
A good dude. Really I met him. He's really a good fucking dude.
And their kids
charming.
And your kids get to know my dad could like kick anyone's ass.
They also got Anthony Smith genes, not Dave Smith genes. Your fucking nebbishy Jew genes.
Oh, I got no
Jewdweens.
No problem with genes. Got some Banana Republic.
Your genes stink. He's got a big. I will say. You know what? Debatably, you have a bigger dick than Anthony Smith. Folks, who do you think's got a bigger dick, Dave Smith or Anthony Smith? Tweet it at us at Yo MMA Rap. Tag them both.
Tag them both. Just get me in a fight with Anthony Smith. Go, I'm a big fan.
I bet he's got a big fat cock too. He's like 6'5". He's a fucking monster,
almost
dude.
certainly.
Yeah.
No, but anyway. So,
but I bet yours looks better on your dweeby body.
There you go. All right. That seemed aggressive. All right. Anyway. I like you better, fat.
It turned into a bully immediately.
I don't know that I agree with you that the judging is better. I don't know that I agree with you. I think there are things, even in the co-main event of this fight, I like little things like this where I go, even just the fact that one judge gave that a 30-27. This one I did watch. Yeah. Even though that one judge gave
men fighting.
Yeah, it was two men.
And it was also an incredible fight.
A good fight.
Really great
But
fight.
the fact that a judge gave it 30-27, like things like this just piss me off. Look, you can think Michael Pereira won that fight. Pereira? You can think he won that fight. Fine. It's a close fight, but you could think he won that fight.
Michelle.
He did not win the second round of that fight.
Yeah.
No judge should look at that and say he won that second round of the fight. And if you do, it should be like an immediate, like, no, dude, that objectively speaking, he didn't win that fucking round. Yeah. He was losing the round and got taken down at the end of the round. There's no gray area there. And that just, you see things like that a lot. And I'll tell you, it does annoy me when people say this shit like, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. It's like, yeah, all right. It's not. You can't always knock a guy out in a 3-round fight. You have 15 fucking men. I mean, think about it in boxing.
Well, it's just a dumb.
How insane that would be.
Such a stupid saying, considering that, like, I don't know, half of the fights in MMA go to the judges. So
you can't always just knock people out. Like, it's not. Oh, it's just an option. Oh, you should have decided to knock that guy out instead of going to the judges. It's like,
you should play by the rules. You should win the fight, and the judges should be able to clearly.
The judges should not. The answer to, like,
at the very least, the judges should be. I look at it as management, right? So when you go to a restaurant and there's bad service, it's not the server, it's the fucking management. It's probably the same problem in the kitchen. There's probably a shitty chef in the kitchen. It's a problem, right? So you need if all the judges aren't on the same page, there's an issue with educating those judges. And whatever criteria where they become a judge. And
or not just judge MMA,
but no,
they're educating, firing the bad ones, hiring more competent ones, whatever the system is.
I don't know what the process is. So do they have to go in and take a course in order to get paid to be a judge? Probably, right? You got to do that to sell real estate.
Yes, they have to do that.
Like, my assumption is, so I feel like that test needs to be really clear cut and judging criteria needs to be really clear cut. What I'm saying is, and when I say the judging is better, we're seeing more fights, right? And most of the judges are good. Most of the time, 99% of the time we go, oh yeah, that was right. And then 1% of the time you go, that was fucking crazy. So I got a bug. Oh,
yeah.
Damn,
I was trying to do that as like, I tried to do this like,
God damn it, dude.
I'm just literally doing this because the camera's on you. I just keep doing this, and you're in the middle of this round, and you're like, all right, Dave, get that booger, man. I'm going off here. Jesus, Dave. Listen, I think your point is spot on that whatever the process is, but the process usually needs to be having a good training process, making sure you hire people who are competent, and making sure people who are incompetent get fired. Yeah. Like, that's always a big part of this shit. But when people go, it's like, look, man, imagine saying this to a boxer. It's like, you have 3 rounds, and you know what the answer is? You have to knock everybody out. It's like, okay, but if you have a high enough level of competition, then that doesn't happen. You can't always knock everyone out. And the answer, let me just say, the answer isn't don't leave it to the judges. The answer is that no judge should see the second round in that fight having gone to Vieira. If I'm saying that name
Pereira.
right. Pereira.
Michel Pereira.
Michel Pereira.
Michel Pereira.
Okay, no one...
What's the other guy's name?
Santiago?
What?
Ponzibio. Ponzibio. But I'm saying nobody... Like, no, the answer is that judges shouldn't get rounds egregiously wrong where anyone who knows what they're talking about knows what happened in that round. Like, it's not like... If I were to take, like... Okay, if I took Daniel Cormier, Joe Rogan, Michael Bisping, John Anik, Dominic Cruz, like all the announcers, right? Say all the announcers for the UFC, throw in Dana White, throw in me and you and Bisping and all of them, it would be unanimous on who won that round.
Yes.
Not one person would argue what happened in that round. So why the fuck is there a judge sitting here telling me something else happened in that round? Now I'm saying, I understand there's going to be close rounds. MMA is like we've talked about before, there are some times where you'll probably never have a perfect criteria for who won that round. We know rounds where you could debate, but at least like the ones that are clear cut black and white, you should get those right 100% of the time.
No, I agree completely. And what I was saying before is I think it's gotten better because I think the criteria has become a little more clear. And I've just noticed that. I've noticed that the way that the announcers are talking about it, they seem to be a little bit more clear as to what's going on when it's a close round. I feel like for the most part, we're seeing a fight every week. We're seeing 12, 13 fights per week, high level, you know. And then honestly, then there's Bellator, then there's small leagues. These are also the same judges. These guys are judging a wild amount of MMA. It's happening a lot. So you see these decisions here and there, they pop up. And I think it's very easy to go like, wow, this is happening all the time. But I think in terms of volume, I think you're probably seeing less bad decisions today in terms of the amount of fights, the percentage of fights that are actually happening, just because of the amount of volume of fights that are happening. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't know. It's at the very least up for debate. I just have noticed that I personally am a little bit more clear when I'm watching the fights now, just in terms of, all right, damage, you know, effective striking means damage. You know what I'm saying? And then if there's no damage for either one, it's who's landing more, you know, and then you sort of go down from there. And yeah, whatever. I do think two splits in the main and co-main, not always ideal, but they were two very entertaining fights.
And very entertaining, both of them.
Pereira now, I believe 5 in a row.